The Monterey County SWAT team practicing the tactical skills using the tools they would use in a real-life standoff.
2 cars burned down to their frames, a third on fire along with a tractor, and the flames quickly spreading. This the scene when firefighters first arrived. Making matters worse, howling winds pushed the blaze across the gully toward a nearby greenhouse. Side by side with firefighters, employees of both the greenhouse and a neighboring packing company use whatever they can to counter the spreading fire.
It started in the middle of this grassy field and spread to trees and nearby brush.
Giving their all to tame the flames devouring this dry, nearly 125-year-old building and the even older antiques inside. Nearby store owners desperately evacuate.
Chaos. I don't know. We don't know what to do, if we should even bother taking things out.
Even if it doesn't burn down my clothing with the smoke, it'll ruin everything.
Neighboring the other side is Araceli Cabala, cooking in her kitchen when she heard a bang.
I was here like boom. So I opened like that and I was see the flames came there in the little store. So it was a lot of flames.
This isn't how PG&E typically goes about making repairs, but it's the best way to access this rural area after the Pfeiffer fire wiped out not only homes, but also the company's infrastructure. Carrying cable, the helicopters meeting up with crews on top of Pfeiffer Ridge, restringing power lines. Well, the firefighters didn't come with a lot of water. Fortunately, there was all this sanitizer fluid already here on scene. And while normally it's used to scrub down machines, you can see that here it's being used to fight the fire. In addition to that, on the west end, it's these caves where you need a light to get through. That's the big attraction. And in winter time, when it's so cold, ice in here is a big concern for people trying to get in and out. To give you an idea of the different board sizes, this is what the most experienced surfer rides, about 5'6". This is what a beginner takes out into the water. And then there's the stand-up paddleboard around 11, 12 feet tall, and it also comes with a paddle.
My reputation is soiled. I mean, there's no coming back from this. Even if I'm found innocent, people are always going to look poorly upon me. So, yeah, I think my career is probably done.
Words of a disgraced police chief who, along with 6 other officers from the King City Police Department, were implicated in a corruption scandal.
How long did you know that there was an investigation into your department, and your department hasn't been a stranger to?
We've had investigations going on since last year. They've been ongoing.
Our cameras caught up with Acting Chief Bruce Miller minutes after he left the Monterey County Jail Tuesday after posting $20,000 bail on a bribery charge.
When you say you were completely surprised, in what sense were you surprised?
That the accusation, the charges they are looking at me is receiving or requesting a bribe, and I've never done that. And so I was aware of investigations that we've reached out to the FBI and DA's office to do, but I didn't know that I would become a suspect. So yeah, a little blown away.
Miller wouldn't elaborate on his bribery charge, but investigators say he, along with 5 other officers, were linked in a car scheme that involved Miller's towing, a firm owned by the acting chief's brother. Miller denies any involvement.
It doesn't stem from my involvement with the tow company, or there's no link there, but it's other parts of the investigation. You probably should talk to the district attorney.
As to Miller's future with the police department,
I'm sure more than likely I'm on leave since I've been arrested and criminal charges have been filed. So it's not just a matter of them doing an investigation.
But you're still shocked. You didn't know this was coming.
I did not know this was coming. No, blown away. Okay.
How are you feeling right now?
Worst day of my life.
Live tonight in Gonzales with more for us. Margot?
Well, Brittany, wine producers here in the Salinas Valley and all across the Central Coast are trying to stay optimistic. But some we spoke to today tell us that they are seeing some small effect from this unseasonable warm weather and this lack of rain.
We normally don't water till June. So this is the first time that I've ever had the water in the wintertime.
Usually at this time of year, grape plants don't need much water, but with current drought conditions, that has changed for some vineyards here on the Central Coast.
We do have a lot of concern with it. We're having to irrigate this time of year because there's no moisture in the soil profile. See Buchanugan right there?
Wine producer John Buchanugan says he's worried about water supply for that irrigation.
Water in our wells are quite a ways down, so we're going to have to be real frugal with our water this year.
All of the sap and everything descends down into the roots.
At Bernardus Winery in Carmel Valley, winemaker Dean DeCorth says so far the drought impact for them has been minimal, but unseasonal hot weather is causing vines to start budding earlier this year.
Our vineyard manager, Matt Shea, who manages our personal vineyards here at the state, he's going to be pruning later in the year later in the season this year, so that we'll kind of try to delay the whole bud break and the whole growth cycle.
Many of the vineyards in Carmel Valley and here in the Salinas Valley are more mature and well established. That means they use less water. But winemakers tell us because of the drought, this is not a good time for the planting of new vines.
I think some of the people that are reluctant to plant, that makes more sense because they have to water a lot more to get the roots to establish and start growing. So they really use a lot more water in the first year or two.
Meanwhile, local wine producers say they are watching the weather closely and hoping for a yield as successful as this past season.
We're keeping our fingers crossed that the drought will end.
We're going to get enough rain. We'll never catch up, but anything will help right now. So.
Now, winemakers say they won't see any real impact on the quality of the grape or the size of this year's crop until later in the season. That's around September or October. Brittany?
Action News reporter Tom Miller, who is live in Watsonville, where they are keeping a close eye on the Pajaro River. Tom?
Aaron, the river not only flooded roads. Take a look at this softball field behind me. The infield, the outfield, everything is covered. And while the water levels haven't yet gone down here, elsewhere they have, thanks to the man-made breaching of the Pajaro River. As rain soaks and saturates the fields near Pajaro Dunes, runoff spills over onto Beach Road, causing dicey moments for cars driving through. Some take it head on.
It's because my car is big.
But for postal worker John Comunez, the flooding's downright ruined his day.
I was just going through the intersection and the water's too high, and the Jeep, I guess the water just went through the, went inside and the Jeep died.
If left to Mother Nature, the Pajaro River could continue rising up and overtake more land, infrastructure, and the nearby community. That's what happened back in the 90s when the river spilled over its banks and caused more than $1 million worth of damages. To protect the area, a Santa Cruz Public Works crew is helping the river meet the ocean, digging a channel to drain out the fresh water, a move expected to lower water levels in the river by 5 to 6 feet.
For the safety of the public, we need to open up the mouth.
They're careful with how they go about it, not wanting to release too much water and risk killing off wildlife.
There's fish habitat, that's concerned. We just want to be sure that we're doing everything proper to protect that.
By afternoon, the river's flowing freely into the ocean. However, for Comunez, it didn't come soon enough.
I've been here for about half an hour just waiting for a tow truck. That's about it. Almost done with my route, just trying to get done.
And Public Works crews estimate that at the deepest spots, the road had about 8 inches of standing water on it. Comunez did eventually get out, but this wasn't the way he wanted to spend his Friday. Aaron?
I'll say not. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Aaron, dozens of homeless people camp here along the Sherwood Drive overpass, but this morning they were told to pack their things and go because it's a safety hazard.
As bulldozers cleared out shelters and old mattresses under the Sherwood Drive overpass, people who lived in the makeshift tent city scrambled to move their belongings out of the way.
I don't even know what to think right now.
We first met Margarita Rosas last month when we went to the encampment, and even though she told us that she kept the area clean, the property owner who owns land next to the camp complained to the city.
Identified that this was actually Caltrans right-of-way next to the freeway. They responded and coordinated with California Highway Patrol, and prior to the holiday they issued notices to the campers that they were coming this week. And so they followed the same protocol as the cities, but the city couldn't clean it up because it wasn't their property.
Caltrans cleared the area because the state agency says it wasn't safe to have pedestrians walking and living so close to a busy overpass.
Luckily, the man was nice with us and told us what day he was going to do this, but, I don't know, there's just not enough places to go.
Evaristo Nava and his girlfriend are homeless and says it feels like they and others who call this area home live on the run.
Hopefully any time now, hopefully this will be the last time we're having to move all our stuff around, you know, but kind of get used to it, I guess. I don't want to stay with it. It's not the life road. I've never been homeless. She's never been homeless.
We're going to be out on the streets, basically. I mean, there's nowhere for us to go.
Tell us where we could be at so we don't have to get bothered. You know, where can we be without them telling us that we got to move, you know?
Homelessness is a top priority in the Salinas City Council strategic plan, but city leaders say they can't respond immediately because they just don't have the resources. They have looked into what other cities have done, such as setting aside land for homeless camps.
Both of these examples, like Fresno, have a service provider with the capabilities to run a camp so that people can live in tents or in temporary tough sheds, but they're regulated and they're managed. And we don't have the capacity, we don't even have the program to do that.
City leaders say the warming shelter at the Sun Street Center is a resource for the homeless, but many choose not to sleep there overnight.